Hey y'all, how are y'all doing? And we are a minute early, so let me just make sure that I have everything up. Okay, righty. I am going live on all platforms, and so let's get right on into it because we're right at 11:30. And so, first off, I want to say welcome. Welcome. My name is Kimberly Ellis. I am known in the internet streets as Kim E, the Diabetes MP. And this is my new series. It's Lunch and Learn. And so I wanted to have a time, and many of you all probably have done these before, where while you're having a meal, whether it be lunch or even after hours, event, someone is going to talk to you about a focused topic. And that's what I wanted to do, right? And so I have a YouTube channel as well as my LinkedIn and my Facebook accounts as well. And I have been doing this as a Tuesday tip. And I stopped doing that for a little while because I ended up having some different life changes, and it was just really hard for me to come on at on Tuesday. And so this series, the Lunch and Learn series, is going to replace the Tuesday tip. Okay. And so what we're going to do, this is going to be a brief conversation. I'm going to really try to keep it to 30 minutes or less. So I'm really watching my time, but I want us to come on and talk very briefly about a focused topic within diabetes management. And so that is what the Lunch and Learn is going to be about. And so for those who don't know me, let me introduce myself for those who don't know. So like I said, my name is Kimberly Ellis. And online, I go as Kim E, the Diabetes MP. And I've been making online content for some time now. And one of the things, well, the big thing about my brand is I really want us to really rethink how we deliver our care. How do we deliver more effective chronic disease management? How do we do that, and how can we do that better? I'm a family nurse practitioner. I'm also a diabetes educator. And so clearly with those two titles, chronic disease management is a big thing that I focus on. And I really try to do this through the lens of three pillars. I try to do this through prevention because, especially with diabetes type 2 being the bulk of the diagnosis that we have in diabetes, we know we can prevent that to a certain degree. So prevention is a very big thing, as well as other chronic diseases. We really lean into how can we prevent the problem before it even happens. I also talk a lot about culturally responsive care. I've made a lot of videos online on my YouTube channel, Kimmy, the Diabetes MP, over that very topic. And then I spent a large part of this summer speaking at two different conferences, the National Black Nurses Association in Chicago, the conference there, as well as the Diabetes Educator Conference, CDCES, in Baltimore, where I talked about culturally competent care, culturally responsive care, which is actually the term that I like to use. And just to piggyback off of that, that third pillar that I like to talk about often is patient and provider engagement. So when I was speaking at these conferences, I was specifically talking about how do we increase engagement in the Black community that has the patients that have diabetes. So if you look at my past content and content that I am currently creating, they're going to all fall within those three different tiers, right? And so speaking about that, today, what we're going to talk about, we're going to lean into Hispanic Heritage Month. So, before we move on to our actual topic, I also want to let you all know how often I'm going to be doing these lunch and learns. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm really working on being consistent with coming on here live. And so I have set a commitment for myself to come on here every Friday at 11:30 Central Time, 12:30 Eastern Time, to kind of really give you all some time to be able to grab you something to eat, sit down, settle in. Don't want to take your whole lunch hour, but be able to comfortably sit here without having to, get up and move around. And so Fridays at 11:30 Central Time, 12:30 Eastern Time is when you'll be able to catch me. If something happens where I cannot make this every Friday, I will do something to let you all know, or put in something that's not like a live video, maybe something that I kind of shoot beforehand. But anyways, let's get into our topic. I have my notes right here, but for those who don't know, and honestly, I feel like at this point, honestly, if you're not living under a rock, you probably know this, but we're in the midst of Hispanic Heritage Month. It's celebrated from September the 15th all the way through October the 15th. And I thought this would be a great topic to talk about when we're thinking about diabetes, because our Hispanic population is one of our priority groups. So in America, we have a couple of priority groups, the Hispanic population being one, of course, our Black population, and then the third group is our Native American and Pacific Islanders. And so I felt like it would be very great, very timely to be able to talk about not only how this relates to the population, the Hispanic population, but also I want to specifically talk about how do we better engage our patients with diabetes in this population. And so as I was sitting and I was kind of thinking through it and stuff like that, I was reminded of a recent conversation that came across my desk. So in addition to being a nurse practitioner and a diabetes educator that works full time, I also volunteer my time to be a communications director for one of the ADA professional interest groups. And that interest group that I'm specifically a part of is the DSMES group, the Diabetes Self-Management Education and Support. Okay. And so one of my roles in this group is to monitor our professional forum and to really initiate conversation. So I send out a lot of correspondence. I try to really make sure that I keep our members up to date of like what's going on in our industry, what's new, any resources that are out there. And of course, being that this is the organization is the ADA, American Diabetes Association, we also keep everyone abreast of what's going on in the ADA as well. And we also plan some of the events. Well, during one of my recent posts, I posed a discussion question, being that it is Hispanic Heritage Month. Are you and or your organization participating in any events or activities in the community to celebrate the month? And so, I had someone to bring it up and to respond back, which I was so excited about, because a lot of times, people don't respond, people read, but they don't like engage. And so to have someone to actually respond back, I was very excited about that. But so anyways, so she responded back, and I thought it would be very good to share her response, because first off, I thought what her organization was doing was such a good thing. And I wanted to share because, again, if we're thinking about how we can better engage our patients, we have to think about how we're going to approach them and how do we go about that. One of the things that I talked about over the summer is that we as healthcare professionals, we're very good at talking about what we do and when we do it, but there's not enough talk and discussion about how we do it. I think there's this assumption that, like, of course you know how to deliver the care. Well, you may not, and as we have people of different varying levels and comfort levels, it's not uniform. It's not that it should be uniform, because we're all different people with different personalities and communication styles. I get that, but we have to really think about how we approach the encounter, because that is the how. That's part of the how. And so one of the big things about me is that I'm all about getting into the community. I spent the majority of my I've spent the majority of my time in community health, and I see so much how we can affect, the trajectory of our patients and their care. And so, anywho, I wanted to pose this question because I'm really big about being in the community. And so I was very happy to get this response. And so I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to, of course, I'm not going to have any names in it or anything like that. But I want to share this with you all, and let's just kind of unpack it. Because initially, like I said, I first thought, oh, this is awesome because I'm all about getting into the community. But then I thought to myself, I can see for some people how this may be uncomfortable for them, and probably having the fear of, what if I do something out of an assumption and I offend? So you're going to understand what I'm saying as I'm kind of giving you some of the high points. So let me bring this up. So let me set the stage. This was written in by a registered nurse, as well as the person who is the health educator at this clinic. This clinic is a not-for-profit clinic, so it's a community-based clinic. And typically out the gate, when I see stuff like this, I automatically assume that this is an organization that their initiative is to answer problems and to fill the gaps for the community. So off the top, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. So basically, the person said that their organization, their community clinic, decided to hold a breakfast last week for their Latino Hispanic population, those who are diagnosed with diabetes, and it was called Build a Better Breakfast. Now, the purpose of this was to educate people that, first off, breakfast is important, okay? And secondly, when we are going to have our breakfast, to not just grab anything and that anything is okay, but really be intentional with how you build your breakfast plate. And I thought that is good. Said that they really were leaning into nutrient dense, items, and that could really, they wanted the takeaway point to be that nutrient dense breakfast would make a huge difference in their day as well as their glycemic control. So she said that what they ended up doing was they ended up serving breakfast tacos, corn tortillas, freshly scrambled eggs, peppers, onions, tomatoes, and cheese. And then they had small packets of almond, fruit, and water. And she stated that they had a huge patient attendance, and that this also, by having so many people there, they ended up being able to have an informal support session for the patients. And so she mentioned that it was such a good turnout and it was such good feedback that they were very excited about this. This particular person, in addition to being a nurse as well as a health educator at her organization, she's also a certified culinary medicine specialist. And she was saying that they were so excited. It was so special, near and dear. A lot of effort and work went into it, and that they are looking to schedule more events like this in the future to service the people in the community. So again, initially I'm like, this is awesome, and here's the reason why. So for one, when you do events like this, instead of just being a structure in the community where you're just we're a building and everybody comes to us. When you and your organization get out into the community, that takes away that transactional feeling, like we're just in this relationship as a transaction. It actually signals to the people in the community that, like, they're actually here for us. Like, they actually care about what we actually do in our regular lives, in our real lives, right? So that's what you do when you come out of the walls of your clinic and you actually get in. You can better advocate for your patients because you see what they're actually going through. You don't know how to address SDOH, social determinants of health, if you don't know what's out there for them, right? So this helps you to be a better advocate, right? And so I immediately looked at it like, this would be very good to kind of break it down on kind of like the pros and the cons, but not so much pros and cons, for lack of a better word, pros and cons. Can I say that? Because I think this, again, this was a great opportunity. I will say it was a great opportunity. But like I said, after hearing what I just read to you guys, there may be some people who may feel like, how do I address the need without being offensive? And that's a valid question, because there are some things in this that could be perceived as potentially offensive. So let's talk about this. Let's start with the great things. That is an obvious thing that I think we can all agree to, that this was a good thing. Well, for one, they're serving the community a free meal, right? A nice free meal, community building, and this is community awareness now. And you're not coming from, hey, y'all come in and come into our business. No, you're going to them and meeting the people where they're at. That's always an admirable thing to do, okay? Something else that this does, you're meeting the need, because as we know, food insecurity is a major SDOH, and you're providing a meal. Now, you're not providing all meals, but this is something, let's just be honest. Let's be very, very real. People don't turn down free meals. So the simple fact that you're going to put on a big display and we're going to have food, I mean, just think about like how many people were able to be fed. Maybe kids were there, the community in general. You're showing the how with food. So many times when we're doing our education, we're educating them on lifestyle modifications, which we know that lifestyle modifications need to be maintained no matter if you're on medications or not. It's always, once they're initiated, they're always there, right? But we tell our patients, you need to eat better and you need to exercise, but do we actually lay it out for them what that actually is? This event gives them an opportunity to actually do, that's the name of the event, building a better breakfast plate. You're showing them the how, okay? You're making it practical, okay? You're giving them actionable steps. All kinds of learning styles can come on here. They're seeing it, they're feeling it, they're hearing it. You're talking to many different learning styles just by having a simple meal, right? And then you're able to support them on the spot. One thing that was pointed out here, that this was an informal support. So not only are you actively and directly supporting the community right then and there, indirectly, you're building rapport, you're building trust. And I'm not a betting woman, but I could bet that some of those patients some of the people probably weren't patients, but now are thinking about becoming patients, because now they can see the staff now. They see what y'all are doing. Oh, I like them. They give us stuff. They're in the community. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to be a part of us, right? So these are some things that I think that we can all agree that were great out of this. Now let's move into some things that I would feel that some people, and if this is you, it's not a bad thing. That's why we're talking through this. Some people may feel uncomfortable doing, or may feel like, I'm afraid that would have offended someone. So let's talk about it. The thing that kind of really jumps out is the serving of the breakfast tacos. Now, I am currently in Texas, and I pretty much everyone I see is a minority, basically. Not everyone, but I see Black and brown communities all the time, but I'm not going to reveal where this person is, but their Hispanic Latin population is not as high as it is in Texas. I'll just put it that way. I would not assume that, okay? And assuming that all people of one culture maybe eat a certain thing could be kind of an overshot. But how do we how do we combat this, though? On one hand, I can see someone saying but what if that offends them that we're serving breakfast tacos? Well, that's a valid point. But there's a couple of things I want to point out here. For one, being that this is a not-for-profit clinic, it's a community clinic, I would assume, and I could be wrong, I could assume that this is something that they inquired about, or they have a strong know that this is probably something that people would want and would eat. Okay. Secondly, they had a big turnout. So I'm pretty sure in the promotion of it all, people knew what they were coming to. Okay. But let's say none of this stuff happens and you just make the huge assumption. I've gotten this question a lot, especially over the summer as I was speaking at different conferences. One of the big issues was, how do I address SDOH without offending people? And the answer is very simple. You inquire, you ask, you ask, you ask about what foods do you eat, And even with that, I know that some people would say, like, well, but what if me even asking that question offends? And to that, I would say, if that offends somebody, especially if you are coming to the person and you're actually asking to learn with a genuine curiosity to learn, say, listen, I would love to learn more about your culture. And I want to know what kind of things you want to eat and what kind of things that are a part of your culture so I can tailor your care to your preferences. If you're coming from that place, I would find it very hard for you to find somebody who would get offended by that. And if in fact you do find someone who is offended by that, it probably wouldn't have mattered what you said, because most people would be like, you know what, like, I do want this person to give me more personalized care. And how else are they supposed to know? And if you just have these open and honest conversations and not be afraid to lean into the uncomfortable, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because we really have no time for that. You got to rip the band-aid off. And so one of my things, and again, I don't know if they did this or not. I always assume the best out of people. So I would assume, just know what I'm reading and what I can draw from my experiences with working with community-based clinics. I would assume that they would already know if this is something that the community would want. But if in fact it isn't, one of the ways that you can get over that is inquire, what do the people want? You can do that by a simple conversation. You can do that by a poll, a survey. You can send out a survey, a patient survey, all the paperwork that we have them fill out a form over, hey, we want to start doing more community-based events. What kind of things would you like to see us do in the community? Would you like us to do food pantries? Would you like us to do food drives? Would you like us to do back to school physicals out in the community? What would you like us to do? And then once you start narrowing it down, you can start asking more focused questions. And so I wanted to pop on here real quick and just kind of talk through that again. This was a very, very good way of getting into a community. And because, I posed the question about what are we doing to be more visible in our community and in front of the population and the demographic that we serve. I thought this was very, very good. And in light of Hispanic Heritage Month, I really wanted to talk through it and then just, talk about the things that are great and some things that, if you ran into some roadblocks, these are some ways that you can overcome that. Okay. So that's all I have about that today. We have a few more minutes. We have 7 more minutes. So let me use this time to tell you a couple of things, little housekeeping. As I had said, I spoke a lot about the ADA, the American Diabetes Association interest groups. These are professional groups that if you are a member of the ADA, like you are part of you have a professional membership, you can join individual groups within they're like networking groups. And there's all different kinds. I'm a part of a few. The ones that I'm a part of, of course, Diabetes Self-Management Education and Support. I'm also a part of the Women's Interprofessional Network, women who are part of the industry, and it's all, women interprofessional. So all different healthcare professionals from different walks of life, all women, all female. I'm also a part of primary diabetes and primary care. They have other ones. They have diabetes in children, diabetes in pregnancy, diabetes technology. They have one over the different complications like foot care. And so they have so many ones that you can join. And so I just would like you to consider that if you are a part of the ADA professionally. And if you're not, I would encourage you to join. There's a lot of resources, a lot of member perks, and one of those are being a part of these networking groups. And so that's one thing. I know our group, the DSMES group, has like 2,000 to 3,000 people in it. So it's a really good group with a lot of wealth of knowledge. And so I'm very honored to be on the leadership board for that. So I just wanted to put in a plug for that. And then lastly, want to just let you all know, I would love to have you all follow me. Follow me here on, well, right now I am going live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and and YouTube. So wherever you are viewing this from, please, I would definitely ask that you follow me. If you're on LinkedIn, follow me. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel, ding the notification bell so you don't miss uploads like this and when I go live. And then also join my Facebook group, Kim E, the Diabetes MP. That's where you can find me on all things social. If it's not Kim E, the Diabetes MP, it's the Diabetes MP. That's what I am on Instagram. But anywho, you have been sitting here with me, Kim E, the Diabetes MP, and I will catch you all next week. Thank you.